Trump's rise coincides with De Niro's decline. And the person who knows it most is De Niro. He's a fine example of how not to turn loss into bitterness. There are plenty of people who don't like Trump, but don't let it warp their minds or their ability to speak aloud among grown-ups or the View. But the shifts in De Niro's of the world are emotionally damaged by politics to a point where they can't even assess their own emotions. Being an actor is tough. For how does one handle real life without a script? Not equipped to think analytically, you're left powerless when observing your own predictions about life turn out wrong. It's not supposed to be this way, De Niro thinks. Only the cool guys get to win. Sorry, Bob. That's only in the movies, but at least you'll always...
Once a film titan, Robert De Niro now fumbles through politics like an old man in a Twitter feud. Then came Greg Gutfeld, armed with humor, snark, and a sledgehammer of truth. No roast needed. De Niro's outdated outrage clashed with sharp reality checks. Each jab chipped away at his tough guy image, revealing someone out of touch. This wasn't acting, it was unraveling.
Graced the knitting circle in hell known as The View, where he tried to link random thoughts into a sentence. Joy was there to wind him up, since he's played some of the most unredeemable characters.
You have played some of the most really unredeemable characters. Travis Bickle. Travis Bickle was a psychopathic taxi driver. Jake LaMotta, who used to beat his wife, and he was in The Raging Bull. Is Trump worse than they are?
To me, he is. He has no understanding that I can see of the outside.
Robert De Niro, once a film icon, now rants like a foghorn in a political storm. Enter Greg Gutfeld, calmly tearing down De Niro's crumbling image one meltdown at a time.
It kind of represents Hollywood in the sense that they realize that they're losing influence with the public, and that's what's generating the emotional response. They've never felt less important.
It just doesn't feel like 2016 again. Like, we lived through that. Did they forget?
Yeah.
It also feels like they forgot that. And remember, just this week we had Kamala Harris dropping the F-bomb at a group.
No red carpet. New grand entrance, just a grin and a raised eyebrow. Then came the verbal bombs, aimed at a man who mistook shouting for a personality. The roast was surgical, more like diagnosing a delusion than throwing fire.
Robert De Niro's 29-year-old child, Aaron, has come out as transgender. When the press asked her for comment, she said, "You talking to they, them?" Last night, an elderly, confused man went missing in New York. Luckily, a band of self-satisfied elitists found him babbling on the street, threw some pants on him, gave him a stage.
De Niro has made it easy. He's become a parody of himself. The moody movie icon now paces through press conferences like he's auditioning for an unapproved sequel. The most irritated man alive, at shaky coffee stands. The man once known for soul-stirring roles, now just rants.
That if he were to win again, and I'm not saying this like it's such a far-fetched notion, if he were to win again, that he would not give up power?
You know he won't. You know he won't. He even said it. He's never going to give it up. And anybody deludes themselves in thinking that he is.
All De Niro can do now is what she gave up subtlety, a trait, once rich with depth and mystery. Now, it's just noise. A loud, aimless clamor, trying to replace the talent that quietly left around Dirty Grandpa.
Talk about persuasive. Really, I was on the fence about Trump, but then I decided to really listen to one of the great generational leaders of American pop culture, and the clenched fists at the end, that really drove it home. It looked like he was pressing a 2-pound weight in a Jenny Craig commercial.
Oh my God.
Look at it again. It's so cute. It's like he found out the restaurant serves Jell-O, or that he won a $10 scratch.
It wasn't the parody, was the title. Once the force behind Travis Bickle and Jake LaMotta, De Niro now plays a bitter, naked relic in films that feel like failed SNL skits. Gutfeld doesn't need to mock him. The self-destruction says it all. From shouting on panels to ranting on Twitter, De Niro's legacy is fading fast. Watching him stumble like a raving King Lear, Gutfeld isn't mocking, he's mourning.
Dirty Grandpa Robert De Niro getting censored by The View after raging like a bull who saw a red MAGA hat.
And they might think that it's going to make their life better, or they just want to, excuse my French, It's almost like he wants to do the worst that he could possibly do to show this country.
Once a legend of real cinema, De Niro now plays a shirtless, angry relic in what feels like a bad SNL sketch. Gutfeld doesn't mock him for work, does it? For him, desperate to stay relevant, De Niro shouts on panels, rants on Twitter, and trades legacy for loudness. Like a bathrobe-wearing King Lear, he waits for applause that never comes. Gutfeld simply points out, the Emperor is naked and yelling.
Standing that I can see of the outside world other than anything around him. He has no idea of what his purpose in life is as the president should be, and that is to pull the country together, to be for the people, to heal wounds, not to open them up and pour salt on them.
De Niro clearly has thought about this. More so than his career, his choice of roles is now down to cinnamon and lobster. He was then asked about the Trump kids. At least he doesn't want my kids to take this the wrong way.
De Niro still acts like his rants are Oscar-worthy. But now, he's just starring in his own soap opera. Producers dread interviews, fans are baffled, and his fury plays more like comedy than substance. Gutfeld doesn't need to mock him. A fading legend is doing it himself. This isn't a movie anymore. It's a reality show no one asked for.
Don't like most of the Trump voters because they are Americans. And De Niro, how stupid is he without a script? Isn't that amazing? I used to think, wow, that guy's brilliant. But once you take the words away from him, he is so stupid. Then when he goes, impeachment will make America great again, and everybody's, how intellectually deprived he is. He's a coke addict.
Greg watches, not to praise, but because De Niro's slow-motion collapse is hard to look away from. Once, a squint meant deep thought. Now it's just caffeine confusion. He had the chance to rise above the noise, but instead squeezed into the clown car and started honking. And maybe his credibility does depend on it. Greg isn't mocking the fall, he's fascinated by it. De Niro's unraveling isn't just tragic, it's a warning about what happens when smart people abandon who they were. Change didn't break him, he gave himself away.
Only the cool guys get to win. Sorry, Bob. That's only in the movies, but at least you'll always have joy. You know, when dislike is so emotional, Katie, I always think it means something else. Like he's actually thought about this. Like, he's like, it's in his head. And I can't help but think it's because they're a similar age and they're both New Yorkers.
De Niro's more likely to win an Oscar for playing his former self than for anything recent. He rages on stage with speeches no one understands, and Gutfeld just says what others won't. The myth is over. This roast is real, and De Niro's anger has become his final role. He didn't stumble into it. He dressed for it and lit the stage himself.
But if my kids did what these kids did, I wouldn't want to be related to them. I would disown them.
Ooh, this is sad. Here you have someone pretending to be a tough guy turn out to be just a second banana for Joy Behar, the poster child for Trump's derangement. Sadly, Bob is now just another gibbering, enfeebled ninny, surrounded by inept relatives as he frets about how Trump's in power.
Gutfeld treated De Niro's self-sabotage like it deserved its own Oscar. Once a cinematic giant, De Niro now plays a bitter oracle clinging to his frown. He stumbled through press tours like reading fortune cookies through boost-smeared bifocals. Gutfeld watched as the man who followed Vito Corleone turned interviews into therapy sessions and monologues into parking lot Hamlets. De Niro's no longer acting, he's performing himself, full-time. Even with his films reduced to airline screens, he still acts like he's auditioning for sainthood.
You know, when the other team, let's say your team, grabs clips of, say, from The Five or Sean Hannity or Jesse's show, they could say we're wrong, but they can't say they're acting crazy, like we have fun. But why is it on the other side, let's say the MSNBC, the CNN, the View side, when they actually appear like they have psychological issues, that this stuff is so ingrained, this Trump derangement, that they are mentally ill? That's De Niro clearly is having problems. His therapist is getting paid.
The real punchline, De Niro's bizarre fight against irrelevance. Filming Why I'm Better. He lives in a penthouse of pretense, clinging to his role as decency's gatekeeper. Gutfeld didn't have to write the jokester, Niro supplied them. Once streetwise, now he delivers dated speeches in robes worth more than cars. The world has moved on, but he still thinks he's starring in a movie no one's watching. And Gutfeld's roast? Far from over.